Hello, happy Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. I'm all over the place because is it Wednesday? It is a Tuesday. Having yesterday off has just really confused me. But I'm working today and I have a reading update. I did start Scythe, but I'm only 70 something pages in. First of all, I messed up my tally. I thought that there were like 450 pages in Harrow the Ninth. There was only just over 400. So I thought I was supposed to finish it. I thought I finished it on the 10th. I finished it on the 11th. I only had 30 pages to read on the 11th, and had I known that, I would have just finished them on the 10th. But I had included like the glossary and the acknowledgements and stuff at the end in the total pages, so I thought that I had more pages than I really did. And then the weekend hit. And I've said this before, because Skylar works during the week, nights, like I'm awake right now, he's asleep, he gets up at 2:30. It takes him 15 to 20 minutes to actually get up, and then we, depending on when he gets up, maybe get to spend 30 minutes together, if that, depending on like if he needs to jump in the shower, if he needs to eat, you know, stuff like that. So when he's home on the weekends, I just want to spend time with him, and on the weekends he gets up even later. Sometimes he doesn't get up till 5 o'clock, which means that I get like 5 or 6 hours with him before I go to bed, and I try to stay up a little bit later, maybe till midnight, to spend time with him. So by the time I go to bed, it's really late and I don't feel like reading. So I didn't read all weekend pretty much. I don't think I read Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. I read last night. I'm gonna try and sit down at about 8 to read and hopefully make some progress. But I'm supposed to be finishing Scythe tonight, and I'm only 70 pages in. And I thought I had an audiobook, but it's an ebook. So, I mean, the writing style is pretty easy, and I feel like the font is, like, the spacing is pretty wide. So I got through the 70-ish pages yesterday relatively quickly. So I'm hoping tonight maybe I can read like 100 to 150, and I'm just gonna have to catch up. And hopefully when I read If He Had Been With Me, because this is more of a contemporary, I can just blow through it. I think I left it for the end of the month. So, oh, there's a little gift receipt in here. This was a gift from my friend. She even took the sticker off for me. I just realized that. Bless her soul. But hopefully I can catch up, and I might just need to rework the number of pages that I have to read in order to finish all of my books. I did a series tracker in my journal. I just feel like I have so many that I'm in like the middle of and I forget about, and then like a long time goes by and maybe like a new book comes out, the 4th or the 5th book, and I'm like, man, I started that, I really enjoyed it, and I never went back to finish it. So I did a little series tracker of all the series that I'm in the middle of. The Locked Tomb, All Souls, The Atlas, Truly Devious, The Inheritance Games. I only have 1 book left to read, and it's on my phone, and I really just need to get on that. The Stolen Heir, the next book in that is The Prisoner's Throne. That doesn't come out till March. Once Upon a Broken Heart, I have A Curse for True Love on my shelves, so I'm definitely going to read that in February. Skyward, the most recent book, Defiant, just came out, but I don't have a copy, so I have to wait until I read down my books a little bit. I might change it to like every 10 books I read, or every time I finish a TBR fully for the month, I can buy a book, so we'll see. House of Flame and Shadow comes out at the end of this month. If I can finish all of these books, that's the book I'm going to reward myself with, and read it in February. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh, her 4th book in that series, The Ruin, just came out, and then Nevermore. I absolutely love Nevermore. Silverborn comes out September. It was supposed to come out last year, and it got pushed a whole year, and I am just so excited for that. and I'm gonna save it for October when it starts to get cool. They're just the perfect comfort books. So I added a little series tracker. Hopefully that helps me. I'm thinking next month I might try to do 6 books, depending on the books. If they're smaller, I might be able to do 6. It really just depends, but I will update you when I have made more progress on Scythe. Hello, happy Wednesday. I just finished my big Wednesday meeting and I wanted to update you. I don't have Scythe with me. I have the cover. I am 204 pages in. That's roughly halfway. It's 433 pages. And I think I am roughly where I was when I started and stopped reading it the first time. So Scythe Faraday has, I don't even know if I've explained the book. This world, they have Scythes. They're people who glean or kill people because their world is perfect now and people no longer naturally die, but in order to curb the world's population, they have people who are selected to randomly glean people. Some people stick to the randomly, some people don't. But our main characters, Citra and Rowan, are selected by this guy, Scythe Faraday, who takes them both on as apprentices, and he is training them. And about 6 months in or something like that, they go to this conclave, this huge conference with all of the other Scythes in their region, and somebody brings up hey, nobody's ever had 2 apprentices before. That's kind of weird. How can we assure that the best apprentice gets chosen out of the 2 of them? I think that the best one should, when he or she becomes a Scythe, glean the other one. That way they both compete to the best of their abilities to ensure that they are not killed. And their Highblade, this guy who kind of makes rules for them, says, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. And Scythe Faraday decides it's a rule that if your Scythe dies while you are in training, you are released from your apprenticeship. So that's why he does it. He kills himself in the hopes that it will prevent his apprentices from having to compete and kill each other. And this other guy, Scythe Goddard, is I'm not letting you out of that. I'll take his apprentices on. And another Scythe Curie, steps up and she's like, I'll take one of them on. You take one, I'll take the other. And she feels like she's saving Citra. She's like, I can't save both of you, but at least I could save or spare one of you from being trained by Scythe Goddard. So Citra is being trained by Madame Curie, and Rowan is being trained by Goddard, and that's about as far as I've gotten. So I do remember, or we've been introduced to the kind of bad person that Goddard is. He does mass gleanings, and his junior apprentices or Scythes are gross. One of them uses a flamethrower. And the last chapter I read was him and his croonies coming up to this fancy guy's house, and they're like, we will spare you and your family from gleaning if you hand over your estates to us. I will also grant you immunity 1 year for every year that we live here. And the guy's like, yes, okay, I will absolutely do that. You're gonna spare me. We're gonna go. And he's like, oh no, I didn't say you could go. You have to stay and run the house. This is a big house. They need staff. So he forces the guy who owned this home to give up his position where he works in regeneration and be his pool boy. And Citra is working with Scythe Curie, and they've just done their first gleaning together, and her approach is much different. She picks people based on a feeling. If she thinks that they feel they might have lived their lives and are ready to go. If they seem weary, exhausted, they walk slow, things like that. That's how she chooses them, and she kills them with no warning, which Citra is not used to based on how Faraday did things. So I'm about to get back to a chapter from Rowan, and the first sentence, I just kind of quickly glanced at it. It's I'm going to die. And I don't know if that's in reference to his training with Goddard or just how he feels. I'm going to let Citra be the winner. But I'm enjoying it. I think I mentioned this. The spacing, the wording, the pacing, everything like that is relatively easy. So I read 126 pages yesterday. I have 240 to read today, which I think that I can do. I have some stuff to do, like making dinner. I'm also knitting. I was going to knit after work. I'm making a Weasley sweater in yellow. It's a little tight, but this is the sweater. I'm working on like the shoulder portion, and I'm about to get to the point where I'm working on the sleeves. But I was working on it while I was in my meeting, so I think I'm going to take it out of my schedule for later. I use this app called Structured to like portion out my day. So I had a dentist appointment. I wanted to list some photos of like some clothes that I'm selling. I usually play Stardew Valley from 5 to 6. That's been like a recent thing the last couple of weeks, just to give me a break. And then from 6 to 7 I have knitting, but I was knitting throughout my whole meeting. And made progress on that, so I might take it out, and then I have like dinner on reading. So if I take knitting out, I will have more time for reading. I just don't want to push myself too much, but I am trying to push myself to finish this and catch up, because I did decide that if I finish all 5 of the books, 5 or 6 books that I have set for myself each month, I will allow myself to purchase 1 book. So if I can finish Scythe, If He Had Been With Me, and Swordcatcher by the end of the month, then I'm going to allow myself to go buy the Atlas Complex. I want to buy Defiant and House of Shadow and Flame. I think that's the next book in the Crescent City series. But the Atlas Complex is the one that I'm most concerned about struggling to get back into. I just finished the Atlas Paradox, so I want to just go into the Atlas Complex, read it in February after I purchase it, and not sort of like lose my enthusiasm for it. There's no way I'm losing my enthusiasm for House of Shadow and Flame. And I really hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong over and over and over again. For Crescent City 3. It doesn't matter if I read that a year from now. The second I pick it up, I am going to be into it. And the same thing with Defiant. Not in the same way, but I really enjoyed the other 3 books. And I read Cytonic several months after I finished Starsight. And I had no problem just jumping right back into it. The writing is really easy. I'm like super into the story. The Atlas Complex is just a different type of writing that takes me a little bit longer. So I just want to make sure while I'm still like interested and remember what happened in the previous 2 books, I don't let too much time go by. So if I can finish these 3 books, I will be buying the Atlas Complex. But I'm going to go, and I will update you when I have finished Scythe. Hello, happy Friday. I'm just coming on to tell you I finished Scythe yesterday. I also just put it away on my bookshelf, so I'm not going to go get it. But I have finished it. I gave it a 4 stars, and I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to continue on with the series, but I think that I'm going to. It's very tough to read. I feel like it talks so much about death. It's very philosophical and introspective about mortality and are we good people and where is the fate of the world going and things like that. And that can be hard for me to read sometimes. Just personally, it can put me in a funk. I'm really glad that the last like 75 pages had some like kick to them. And a like sweet moment, a funny moment. It was enough for me to be like, yeah, I want to read the rest of the series. So I added it to my series tracker. I did start Swordcatcher last night. I only got about 40 pages in. I was exhausted. Skylar was home, so I didn't go to bed until like 9:30, 10-ish, and that's when I started reading up until 11. I do have an audiobook for it, but it's through Spotify. And Spotify only gives you 15 hours regardless of how quickly you read, and my Spotify doesn't up until the 11th, so I just got these hours. So I was kind of trying to get into the book on my own without using the audiobook. And if I find it's taking me a long time, then I will use the audiobook. It's interesting. What I read last night was only the prologue, which was wild to me that it was so long. Our main character is Kel. He is from an orphanage, and he one day is just playing in their like backyard. And a man from the castle comes. He's like the king's high guard, and is like, you're coming with me, and He gets to the castle and he gets told by this high counselor or something that for the night he's going to pretend to be the crown prince. The crown prince is sick and can't miss this dinner. It's very important. So they give him like this talisman that kind of makes other people think that he looks like the prince, and he's dressed up really fancy, and he's told, if you do well tonight, you can go home, I'll give you a bag of gold crowns, and that's it. So he goes through dinner, he kind of impresses everybody, and at the end, they're like, so this is the boy, and everyone's like, yep, this is him, and he's like, I'm not going home, am I? And the counselor is like, I didn't want to tell you what the real thing was, I just wanted you to perform the way you would, and you've done well, the king and queen accept you, now we have to go see if the crown prince does. So he went to meet the crown prince, Connor, who is like, I don't want to force you to do this, but this is like an old tradition where you will stand in my place on some occasions, situations that are kind of dangerous in order to protect me. You'll get the education that I get, all of the same like access to money and food and things like that. But I want it to be your choice, and it could be extraordinary. You'll travel with me, you'll learn languages, you'll meet people and have experiences that other people could never imagine. And Kel is kind of like, it's the first time he's ever really been needed by somebody. Like, he can see that this is really important to the prince, and so he agrees to it. And that's about as far as I got. When I got to the first chapter, it's like a huge time jump. The prince is talking about why he has to get married, so that's where I stopped. And I'm going to stop this vlog here. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, comment down below, let me know how your month is going. My January's been pretty good. My husband and I are trying to do like dedicated date nights and being really intentional about dating each other. The first year of marriage is supposed to be really hard, and we've just had a rough couple years, so like wedding planning stress and other things, so we're trying to be intentional, especially because he works nights. So we went to like dirt bike race a couple weeks ago, and this Monday, and I made a joke, I was like, oh, now that we're married, we do dates on Mondays. We're going to see the Cowboy Bebop movie. That's something he like saw, he knew I would like, and he purchased the tickets, and I just appreciate that kind of effort. So it's been a good January for me so far. Let me know how yours has been, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!